What would you do if your husband sat down across from you at the breakfast table, looked you dead in the eyes, and told you he was moving in with his ex-wife for a month, and then watched his daughter point a phone at your face, waiting to film your breakdown? That's exactly what happened to me. And instead of crying, instead of begging, I said two words. Okay. Sign. My name is Brooke Calloway. I'm 37 years old and I work as an ICU nurse at a Level 2 trauma center in Columbia, South Carolina. My alarm goes off at 4:45 every morning. I roll out of bed before the sun comes up, brew coffee in the dark, pull on my navy scrubs, worn soft from too many washes, and drive to work while the rest of the city is still asleep. My shifts run 12 hours. 12 hours of running codes, lifting patients, charting vitals, holding the hands of people who are dying while their families sob in the waiting room down the hall. I come home with aching feet, a stiff back, and hands that smell like antiseptic no matter how many times I wash them. I never complain about any of it. This job pays our rent, keeps the lights on, puts food in the fridge, and keeps my 16-year-old son, Cole, in decent clothes and school supplies. My husband, Tyler, works in sales at a mid-tier logistics company. He has charm. The easy practice kind that makes clients trust him instantly. Smooth voice, quick smile. Always knows exactly what to say to make someone feel important. He talks constantly about promotions that never come, deals that are always just about to close, about how next quarter is going to be the big one. I learned years ago to just nod and handle the checkbook while making sure the bills actually get paid. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, narrow kitchen, 1 bathroom, enough space for 4 people to exist but not really breathe. The 4th person was Tyler's 20-year-old daughter, Kayla, home from community college for the summer. Kayla had her father's confidence but none of the warmth. Always on her phone, always filming something. Always finding small ways to remind me that I wasn't her real mother. Never directly. Just glances. Little comments that said exactly what she thought without having to say it out loud. For a while we had a routine that almost felt normal. Sunday meal prep in that tiny kitchen. Weeknight TV on the couch, Tyler always picking what we watched. Dinners that were quiet in a way that was less peaceful and more like a waiting room. Everyone waiting for something nobody could name. It wasn't passionate, it wasn't exciting. There were no deep conversations, no shared dreams, no moments where I looked at Tyler and felt anything beyond mild companionship. But it was stable. Predictable. I told myself that was enough. That blended families take work. That marriages go through seasons. Then, about 8 months ago, I started noticing things. It started with Tyler's phone. A slight tilt of the screen whenever I walked past. Then face down on the counter, always on silent. He started waking up before me, and I'd hear him in the bathroom typing and deleting messages. When I asked who he was texting so early, he'd say work stuff. Client emails. Nothing important. Then came the late meetings. 2, sometimes 3 nights a week. A text around 6 saying he had to stay late for a pitch or strategy session. He'd come home after 9, walk straight to the shower even though he'd already showered that morning, smelling faintly of a perfume I didn't own. Vague answers when I asked how the meeting went. Fine. You know how clients are. Kayla started smirking on those evenings, glancing at me from across the room, then back at her phone, waiting for a reaction I never gave. I just did the dishes, folded the laundry, got ready for my next shift. But I noticed. I always noticed. One night I made a light joke about Tyler being on his phone again, something about a secret spy operation. Instead of laughing, he looked up sharply and snapped. "You're always looking for problems that don't exist, Brooke." The sharpness of his voice startled Cole, who froze with his fork halfway to his mouth. Kayla looked up from her screen, suddenly interested, like she could smell conflict. I didn't respond. I cleared my plate and went to bed. That night I started keeping track. Not in writing, nothing he could find. Just mental notes. Dates, times, patterns. I've spent years in emergency rooms watching people ignore warning signs until it was too late. I've held the hands of women with broken bones who swore they fell down the stairs. I've watched them walk back out the door into the same situations, telling themselves it would get better, that they were overreacting. I swore I would never be one of those women. 2 days before that breakfast, I found a hotel receipt in Tyler's jacket while checking pockets before doing laundry. Mount Pleasant. Tuesday night. The same Tuesday he told me he was working late on an urgent client pitch. I stood in the dim morning light, holding that crumpled receipt, and felt something inside me shift, cold and final and perfectly clear. I folded the receipt and put it back exactly where I found it. Finished the laundry. Went to work. Ran my shift. Came home like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I knew the truth and I was ready. So when Tyler sat down across from me 2 mornings later and calmly announced that he was moving in with his ex-wife for a month, I didn't give them the reaction they wanted. I set my spoon down on the table. The sound it made in the sudden silence was louder than it should have been. Tyler sat across from me, cologne heavy in the air, waiting. Kayla stood frozen by the counter, phone slightly lowered, looking thrown off by my calm. Cole sat between them, headphones around his neck, confusion written all over his face. "Let me make sure I understand this," I said, keeping my voice level. "You're planning to move in with your ex-wife for a month, and you think telling me in advance makes it acceptable?" Tyler nodded. "I'm being transparent, Brooke. Isn't that what you always say you want? Honesty." That stranger calm settled deeper into my bones. The same calm that comes when a patient is crashing, and there's no time for panic, only action. "Transparency is important," I said. "I appreciate it. But if you walk out that door, you're not taking any part of what I've built with you. I want a formal 30-day separation agreement. Legal signed binding. No financial support from me during that month. No access to our joint accounts. You want to live like you're single. You'll fund it like you're single." The kitchen went dead quiet. Kayla's mouth actually fell open. Tyler blinked, waiting for the punchline. "You can't be serious." "Completely." Kayla recovered first. "That's insane. You're trying to control him. This is exactly why he needs space from you." I turned to look at her slowly. "No, Kayla. This is called protecting myself. Something you'll understand when you're old enough to earn what you have instead of having everything handed to you." Her face went red. Tyler stood up and the table rattled. Coffee sloshed in my cup. "You can't cut me off financially just because you're upset. That's not how marriage works. You're the one leaving the marriage," I said, still sitting, still calm. "I'm just making the boundaries clear." He stared at me, jaw working, searching for the words that would make me back down. When he couldn't find them, he forced a laugh. "You're bluffing. You won't actually do this." I stood up, walked my bowl to the sink, rinsed it, then turned around and looked him directly in the eye. "Try me." Something in my voice landed. He went quiet. Kayla was typing furiously on her phone. Cole sat perfectly still, watching everything. Tyler finally cleared his throat, straightened his shoulders. "Fine. Draw up whatever you want. I'm not going to fight you over a piece of paper. But when you calm down and realize how ridiculous you're being, don't expect me to just forget this. I'll keep that in mind." He grabbed his phone off the counter and walked toward the bedroom. Kayla followed, shooting me a look of pure venom. I heard them talking in low, urgent voices, probably convinced I'd cave within 24 hours. Cole stayed at the counter, staring at his cereal. When he looked up, his eyes were watery but steady. "Mom, what's happening?" I walked over and sat beside him. "Your stepdad made a choice. I'm making sure I'm protected. That's all." "Is he really leaving?" "Looks that way." He nodded, processing. "Are you okay?" That question cracked something small inside me, but I didn't let it show. I put my hand over his. "I will be. We both will." He put his headphones back on and went to his room. I stood alone in the kitchen as the morning sun started coming through the window, and I pulled out my phone. My hands were steady. I scrolled to a contact I'd saved 3 months ago. Patrick Devon, attorney. I'd met him through a patient advocacy case, sharp, efficient, no nonsense. Exactly what I needed. I texted him. "Need a separation agreement drafted today. Can you meet this afternoon?" His reply came in 2 minutes, 2 p.m. "My office. Bring details and timeline." I typed back, "I'll be there." Then I opened a new note on my phone and started writing. Every date I could remember. Every late meeting. Every time Tyler came home smelling like someone else's perfume. Every smirk from Kayla. 8 months of patterns laid out in clean bullet points. 2 full pages by the time I finished. Tyler and Kayla left an hour later, duffel bags in hand. Kayla stopped in the doorway, turned back and said with a smirk, You know, most women wouldn't even get told. You should actually be grateful. I looked up at her calmly. You might want to pay attention to what happens next. Consider it a life lesson. She rolled her eyes, then angled her phone to snap a selfie with Tyler, typed a caption, probably something about real family sticking together, and hit post. Then they walked out without saying goodbye to Cole. I sat at the kitchen table, finished my tea, and got ready for my meeting with Patrick. At 2 p.m., I walked into his office and laid everything out. The affair. The hotel receipt. This morning's announcement. Tyler's logic about honesty. Kayla's involvement. My need to protect myself financially, quickly, and airtight. Patrick listened without interrupting. You want a clean 30-day separation. No financial commingling. Exclusive possession of the apartment. Joint accounts frozen. Each party covers their own expenses. Exactly. And you want it solid enough that he can't claim coercion later. Yes. I can have this drafted by end of day. By 4:30, I had a printed, notarized separation agreement in a folder. I drove home, set it on the kitchen table and texted Tyler. Agreement is ready. Come sign whenever you pick up your things. His reply came an hour later. You're really doing this? I typed back. You said you weren't going to fight me on it. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, fine. I'll come by tomorrow morning. I set my phone down and looked around the apartment. It already felt different. Lighter. Like something heavy had been lifted off the walls. I made dinner for Cole and me, and we ate quietly together, then watched a movie on the couch. He sat close to me and I put my arm around his shoulders. That night, I slept better than I had in months. The next morning, Tyler arrived at 9:30. I watched through the peephole as he tried his key, frowned when it didn't work, tried again, then knocked. I opened the door with the folder. Changed the locks already? His tone tried for amusement and missed. Safety precaution. The agreement's right here. He stepped inside, picked up the folder, flipped it open and scanned the first page. This is excessive. It's protective. He laughed forced. You actually paid a lawyer to write this? How much did that cost? My money. My decision. He shook his head, flipping through the pages too fast to actually read them. Kayla appeared in the doorway, phone already up, probably recording. Tyler sat down, pulled out a pen and signed. Bottom of page 1. Page 2. Page 3. No questions. No pauses. Just his name in quick, careless strokes, like he was signing a receipt at a restaurant. He tossed the folder on the coffee table and stood up. Happy now. Very. He stared at me, waiting for tears, for some sign that I was falling apart. When nothing came, he shook his head. You'll regret this. Kayla stepped forward, filming openly. This is honestly sad, Brooke. You're punishing him for being honest with you. I looked directly at her, directly at the camera. Everything in that agreement is legal and fair. Your father signed it willingly. If there's a problem with it later, that's on him for not reading what he signed. She lowered the phone slightly, caught off guard by how calm I sounded. They left. I locked the door, picked up the signed agreement, scanned every page and emailed copies to Patrick and to myself. Binding. Done. What came next, I handled the way I handle everything that actually matters, with precision, without panic, without asking anyone's permission. Tyler had been driving a sedan titled solely in my name. I'd bought it 2 years earlier when his previous car died, put it in my name because his credit was a disaster. I called the lender, provided proof of ownership in the separation agreement, and authorized a repossession. They found it parked outside his ex-wife's townhouse in Mount Pleasant and towed it that same afternoon. Then the bank. I took a personal day and was at the credit union when they opened. Closed the joint account, withdrew everything except exactly $200, transferred to a new account in Tyler's name alone, so he couldn't claim financial abandonment. The remaining funds, just over $4,000 I'd deposited from my own paychecks, went into my private account. Then the cell phone carrier. Tyler's line was under my family plan. I had it disconnected in 10 minutes. Then I called a locksmith. New locks, 3 keys. One for me, one for Cole. Every action was documented. Every step was legal. Every decision was irreversible. That evening I met with Patrick again to begin drafting the divorce complaint. Fault-based grounds. Adultery. How much evidence do you have? He asked. Enough. I didn't tell him about the private investigator yet. That was a card I'd play when I needed it. 3 days later, the documentation package arrived. Dozens of photos, time-stamped and geotagged. Tyler and his ex at a wine bar, at a hotel parking lot, in her car outside a restaurant. And the one that mattered most, Tyler's sedan parked outside her townhouse at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, not leaving until 3 a.m. There were also screenshots of text messages. Nothing explicit but enough. Can't wait tonight. She doesn't suspect anything. This is worth the risk. And then a group chat. Tyler, his ex, and Kayla. Kayla's messages. She just left for work. You're clear. She's working a double tomorrow. You'll have all day. And the one that stung most, even though I'd been bracing for it. She's so clueless. This is almost too easy. Kayla wasn't just aware. She was coordinating. She was actively helping. And she was enjoying every second of it. I saved everything to 3 flash drives and a password-protected cloud account, then forwarded the full package to Patrick with one line. Evidence attached. Use as needed. His response came within minutes. This is more than enough. Filing tomorrow. I closed my laptop and sat in the quiet apartment, feeling nothing but the grim satisfaction of being right, of being prepared, of having made the right choice entirely on my own terms. The call started 4 days later. Tyler's voice going from tight and controlled to frantic across 7 voicemails. Card declined at the gas station, accounts not working, what did I do? Call him back. This was insane, this was illegal. Kayla's voice sharp and nasty. Cutting off his money just proves why he left. Grow up. I listened to each one once, saved every single one as evidence, blocked every number they called from, and went back to work. When Kayla took the story public, posting a video from his ex-wife's living room, eyes red, voice trembling, talking about how her transparent father had been punished for being honest, how I'd been controlling and vindictive, I didn't engage. 2 of my coworkers mentioned they'd seen it. Both times I said the same thing. It's being handled legally. I'm fine. And both times they nodded and let it go. On day 11, someone pounded on my apartment door just after 10 at night. Not knocking. Pounding. Fist against wood, hard enough to rattle the frame. Tyler's voice loud and furious. Addison, open this door. You have no legal right to lock me out of my own home. I went to the peephole, pulled out my phone and started recording through it. His face was red and distorted, fist coming down again and again. A neighbor from down the hall opened her door to look. Another neighbor appeared in his doorway with his phone already in hand. I called building security with my other hand. This is Brooke Calloway in 4B. A man is pounding on my door and refusing to leave. I need security up here now. 2 guards arrived within minutes. Tyler was still raging about financial abuse and his rights, but when the guards told him he'd be removed and the police called if he didn't leave, he stepped back, hands up, voice shaking. Fine. Take it all. You're going to regret this. I watched from behind the peephole until he was gone. Then I forwarded the video to Patrick with a message. Incident at my apartment tonight. Security report attached tomorrow. His reply came in 5 minutes. Good documentation. This strengthens your case significantly. The divorce hearing came 3 weeks later. Judge Patricia Harnell, mid-60s, sharp gray eyes, silver hair. The kind of woman who had heard every version of every story and was no longer impressed by any of them. She read through the separation agreement, the bank records, the photo documentation, the text messages, the security incident report. The courtroom was silent. She looked up over her reading glasses. Mr. Calloway, stand up. Tyler stood. His attorney stood beside him, nervous in a suit that didn't fit right. I've reviewed the evidence submitted by both parties, the judge said, her voice steady and final. This is textbook adultery with clear documentary evidence. You signed a separation agreement on the 16th of last month that explicitly outlined financial and property terms. You signed it willingly, without coercion, in the presence of your daughter, who can verify no duress occurred. You then violated the marital contract through documented infidelity. You also appeared at the petitioner's residence in violation of that agreement, creating a disturbance requiring security intervention. She paused, letting each sentence settle like stones dropping into water. The divorce is granted. You forfeit all claims to spousal support and any joint property acquired during the marriage. The separation agreement you signed is incorporated into this final order. The terms are binding and enforceable. Do you understand? Tyler had gone pale. Mr. Calloway, do you understand? His attorney whispered something. Tyler swallowed. Yes. The gavel came down once. In the hallway afterward, Kayla caught up to me. You happy now? You destroyed him. I stopped. Turned. I didn't destroy him, Kayla. He destroyed himself. I just stopped cleaning up the mess. And I walked away. In the parking lot, Tyler appeared one more time. He looked smaller than he had before. Deflated, the easy confidence completely gone. You think you've won? This isn't over. You'll regret this. I looked at him, really looked at him, and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no doubt. Just the quiet, clinical observation of a man I used to know. It's been over since you walked out that door, I said. You just didn't realize it yet. I got in my car, pulled out of the parking space, and watched him shrink in my rearview mirror until he disappeared around a corner. That image stayed with me. Not because it hurt, because it didn't. 2 months later, my supervisor offered me the newly created nurse manager position for our ICU floor. Better hours, better pay, genuine responsibility. I didn't hesitate for a second. Cole and I found a 2-bedroom apartment in West Ashley. Higher ceilings, hardwood floors, a small balcony overlooking a park. Cole painted his room himself, deep navy blue, every wall methodically right down to the trim. He joined his school's robotics club. He started bringing friends home again. He started laughing the way teenagers are supposed to laugh loudly, fully about things that don't matter. The weight we'd both been carrying was finally gone. For months after the divorce, my phone rang from an unknown number on a Tuesday evening. I was on the balcony with a book and iced tea watching the park. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. Silence. Then a breath. Then a voice I barely recognized. Kayla. Stripped of every trace of arrogance, shaking and small. She told me her father's ex-wife had finally kicked them both out. Tyler was living in a motel off the highway. Kayla had lost her job for missed shifts. And she was pregnant. The man hadn't returned her calls. She'd burned through her friends. She was calling me because she had no one else. She asked me to undo the divorce so her dad could get back on his feet. So they could all be okay again. She begged. I let her finish. Then I said, quietly and without cruelty, I'm not happy you're hurting. I genuinely hope you find a way through this. But when you and your father decided I wasn't part of your family, I believed you. I rebuilt my life without you in it, and I'm staying in that life. Every choice has consequences, Kayla. The disrespect, the mockery, the public humiliation, helping your father cheat, filming me to post online, those were your choices. The divorce, the financial separation, the loss of support, those were the consequences. You need to feel the weight of what you chose. She sobbed. So you won't help me at all? I can't. Not because I hate you, but because you need to learn what your choices cost. And because I need to protect the peace I fought for. I pointed her toward community resources. Social services. She hung up without another word. I waited for guilt to come. For regret. For some voice telling me I should have been the bigger person. It never came. Instead I felt clear. Certain. Sad for a 19-year-old girl in a hard situation, but absolutely certain I had made the right call. I went inside, found Cole at the kitchen table doing calculus, pencil tapping as he worked through a problem. Everything okay? He asked without looking up. Yeah, buddy. Everything's fine. He nodded and went back to his math. The next morning we got up early, went to our favorite breakfast spot downtown, sat by the window watching the city wake up. Cole told me about a girl in his biology class named Lily. He stared at his orange juice while he said it, trying too hard to sound casual. I told him he should ask her out. His face went red. Maybe, he said. Probably not. I told him the worst she could say was no. We ate, we walked, we threw a frisbee badly in the park, laughing every time one of us missed, which was most of the time. Mom, he said after a particularly terrible throw sailed into the bushes. Yeah. I'm really glad it's just us now. I looked at him, this 16-year-old who had survived chaos and come out kinder on the other side. and felt something open in my chest that had been closed for a very long time. Me too, buddy. Some people only understand what they had when they lose the person who held everything together. And when that happens, you don't go back to teach them the lesson again. You keep walking toward the life you deserve. And that life, it's warm. It's steady. It smells like coffee in the morning and sounds like my kid laughing too loudly about nothing. It's mine, completely and entirely mine, and I earned every single second of it. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever had to choose your own peace over someone else's comfort, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe so you never miss another story just like this one.